Hello my dear anime friends, imagine this scenario. You see a girl who needs help. You try and save her, but she ends up just trying to kill you instead. This is a recap of the anime titled Beyond the Bounday. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. We begin in a high school where we meet a student named Akihito. On his way out of class, he sees someone standing on the edge of the school's roof. He runs up to her to try to talk her out of it because he is afraid for her safety. When he gets to the top, he pleads with all his heart. Now comes the strange part. She tells him she doesn't like him, then does a crazy backflip and lands right in front of him with a red sword that appeared out of nowhere. She stabs him in the chest and tells him he picked the wrong person to fight. To her surprise, he not only doesn't die, but he also asks her nicely to take the sword away. After about a week, we see Akihito talking with Mitsuki Nasi, the head of his literature club. They are talking about what kinds of books they should put on display for the year when they hear a loud crash outside. Saying that it's probably the girl we saw earlier, Akihito goes to find out what's going on. He walks out of the room and passes a Mirai Kuriyama who is trying her best to hide. As he walks down the hallway, she walks right behind him. When he stops, she is so sneaky. Mirai tries to hide in a nearby supply locker, but things don't go well for her. Akihito turns around and says it's strange to see her here. Mirai agrees. He says it as if it's a coincidence, then tells her to stop. He has already told her he will never die. She can stab him as many times as she wants, but she can't kill him. She blames him for why she keeps trying. She's never heard of an immortal who could heal from this many wounds that would normally kill them. He tells her again that he is not a dream shade. Instead, he is a half shade, which is the child of a dream shade and a human and is very rare. She says it doesn't matter because as long as she's a spirit hunter and he's a dream shade in some way, she's right to do what she's doing. She says goodbye, and he goes back to the club room to tell everyone that he hasn't been able to stop her from killing him at all. Mitsuki asks him why he won't let her stab him as much as she wants. He says that he still feels pain even though he will never die. Later that day, when Akihito was leaving the literature room, Mirai was there waiting for him. He asks her if she is going to try to kill him again today. When she asks him why he stays at school so late every day, he tells her that if he left any earlier, she might attack him in front of other people. She tells him that he doesn't have to worry about that because she has put up barriers that will keep people from coming near them. He says he's never heard of anyone making a sword out of their own blood before. Mirai says that spirit hunters used to avoid her clan because they had a cursed bloodline. Because her clan's abilities were so strong, they were hunted down, and her clan died out. Now, she is the only one left. She calls up her sword, and Akihito runs right past her. He says he's making a strategic retreat because he knows he can't beat her in a fight. She gives chase to him. She finds him in a classroom and checks behind the teacher's desk. At the end of the room, she hears a noise coming from a locker. When the phone rings, she slowly makes her way over to it. As she looks at it, Akihito pushes the locker on top of her, making it impossible for her to get out. By using her sword, she starts to get free. When she finally comes out of it, she says she can't see and asks what he has done to her. Yes, that's just a bucket. When she takes it off, her stomach grumbles, and he asks if she's hungry. Just then, a monster crashes through the window and into the classroom. We find out that this is a true dream shade. A woman comes in and kicks the dream shade in the face, which makes it run out the window. After it lands, it runs away and no one sees it. The woman asks Akihito to call the cleaners for her. He tells Mirai that the woman is a teacher at the school before she jumps down after it. She is known as Ninomiya Shizuku and is also a spirit hunter in this area. A while later, Akihito takes Mirai out to dinner, which is a pretty good deal for her considering how many times she's attacked him. When it's found out that she's almost never taken out a dream shade before, she explains that her clan was hated for being able to control blood. So she's been trying to hide her powers by staying away from shade hunting. Akihito then realizes that she has been using him as practice to try to get her skills back up since he is immortal. The next day at school, he sits down with Mitsuki for lunch. After a short talk, she tells him that her family, the Nars clan, is wary of Mirai and that he shouldn't get any closer to her for his own safety. When Mirai again waits outside the club room for him in the afternoon, he completely ignores Mitsuki's advice and asks her to talk to him outside. They sit down on a bench, and Akihito asks her if she came to this town for a specific reason. She doesn't say anything interesting. He doesn't really buy her response, but he doesn't say any more. Akihito asks her why she doesn't just eat at home, as she starts to eat, then asking if there's a reason why she shouldn't. He asks if she wasn't able to pay rent or if her house is so full of trash that she can't get in because she's such a bad liar. She says that she's paid for the month and that her house is clean. When he finally gets it, he asks her if her house is haunted by a dream shade. He says it's not surprising because they are sometimes drawn to a spirit hunter's power. He starts to leave, telling her that he will help her kill it and that he won't have to worry about getting stabbed anymore if it helps her feel more confident. When they get back to her apartment, it seems to be pretty empty. Akihito asks if there is anything different. When the lights in the room start to flicker and a force turns itself on, he tells her to get ready, and she pulls out her sword. After a short time, a small spot on the wall starts to move. Mirai tries to attack it, but it gets away and hides in the floorboards, where it starts shooting out sharp bandages. When a piece hurts her, she fights back. When it starts to come out of the floorboards and take its proper shape, Akihito has a sudden flashback to a time when he was in a field over a dead body and his hands were covered in blood. He wakes up when he hears Mirai call out to him. Just as the dream shade is coming at him, she gets there in time to stop it and save him. As she asks if he's okay, the dream shade starts to come apart and slip out the glass door. Akihito tells her that she needs to kill its eye. It can only be killed by doing that. She sees the eye as it goes by, but she doesn't hit it hard enough to kill it. She goes after it. Once they are outside, they look at each other for a moment before they start to fight. Mirai cuts off the attacks in a smooth way. When it hits a sandpit next to it, sand and dust are blown into the air. During this time, it goes underground to hide. Bandages come out of nowhere and try to attack Mirai, but she easily cuts them up. She jumps up high to get to the dream shade. She blocks the bandages and goes for the attack, but her sword, which is now caught up in the bandages, pulls her back. The shadow turns into a spear and jumps toward her. She lets the sword fall, then turns it around and cuts up at it. It falls back, and she lunges after it, stabbing down toward the eye. As soon as they touch though, she closes her eyes because she doesn't want to see. Akihito asks her if she got it, and she says that she did. She is shocked when she looks down and sees that the eye can move freely around the body. It moves away. Mirai just wants to let it go because she thinks it won't come back now. Akihito tells her that if she quits now, she won't make any money, and she says that's fine. Then he asks her how she will eat tomorrow or pay rent next month if that's the case. Then she starts to chase it up the side of a building, where it makes wings out of its bandages and starts to fly away. She takes off the ring on her pinky finger, which changes how the sword works. She swings her sword at the shadow, and blood flies off of it. When her blood touches the shade, it breaks down the bandages right away, and the shade falls to the ground. She goes down there and looks at her sword. When she starts having flashbacks, she can't bring herself to kill it. When it starts to attack her again, she has no choice but to kill it. After she stabs it, it starts to glow and go away, leaving behind only a stone. When Mirai trips and falls, Akihito runs over to her and asks if she's okay. She says that she just feels a little dizzy, as she was, after all, using her blood. The next day, Akihito takes Mirai to a place where she can get an estimate on the value of the Dream Shade Stone. When the shop door opens, a young girl named Ai Shindo is there. Akihito asks her if the owner is there right now. She tells him that the owner had a late one last night, so she's still sleeping. Mirai squares up, pulls out a sword, and asks him how he can talk so casually to a dream shade. He tells her that dream shades are different from one another. Both the shop owner and I are dream shades with licenses from the Spirit Hunters Association. They compare it to how, even though humans are mammals, they can still praise cows and pigs. Mitsuki finds them and Akihito introduces Mirai to her. Since they can't get an estimate on the stone right now, they go to school. Later in the day, Akihito goes to see Mitsuki's older brother Hiromi to find out why the dream shades have been acting so aggressively lately. But all he gets is a creepy touch-up and some vague answers. After school, Akihito goes back to the appraisal store, where he finds the store owner, Ayaka Shindo. He asked her if Mirai had been by yet, and she told him that she hadn't. She then says that she has changed the old barriers that keep people from seeing the shop because the old ones were starting to lose their power. Any spirit hunter should still be able to find the shop though. We go outside and see a sad Mirai walking around looking lost and unable to find the shop. Mitsuki finds her telling Mirai to follow her, guiding her through the barrier. As they walk, Mirai asks Mitsuki why she is friends with Akihito. Mitsuki tells her that she is basically observing him. Inside, Akihito has given Ayaka a magical postcard from his mother and asked her to show him what's inside. When he asks her if she can, she waves her hand over it. When she asks if that was his mother, he says it was and tells her she's always been crazy. He is shocked to see that Mirai and Mitsuki have also gotten inside and can now see how embarrassed he looks. They were able to persuade him to play the rest of the message. His mother tells him that the hollow shadow, a very powerful dream shade, is coming their way. It has no physical body, and it is said that it once beat 5 of the best spirit hunters in just 5 minutes. The best thing to do is to stay away from it and wait for it to leave. Akihito thinks that the hollow shadow is probably why all the dream shades have been acting so mean lately. They start the ritual for judging Mirai's dream shade stone. Ayaka takes a close look at it, and then we cut to a later scene where it's shown that Mirai only got $10 for killing it. Even though it took a lot of work, Mirai then takes Akihito out to dinner as a thank you for helping her get rid of the dream shade. While together, she tells him that he shouldn't get too close to her because they are different and that this is goodbye. She says that she can't live like him. He wants to know why. She tells him she doesn't deserve it because she killed someone she loved once. The end. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate all your support. Take care and see you again soon.